Greetings, everyone, and a warm welcome to Global Gobeshona Conference 4 webinar titled Unveiling the Silent Crisis, Climate Change Impacts on SRHR of Coastal Women and Girls. I'm Tansin Kibria Labundo, working as the Deputy Manager Meal at Manusher Jonah Foundation. First of all, we would like to acknowledge that our Executive Director, Shaheen Anam, was supposed to moderate this session. However, due to an unavoidable circumstances, she is unable to join us today. So on behalf of Shahinana Mappa and the whole Manusher Jonah Foundation family, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all of you and thank you for being present in this session. Today, we discuss on a critical issue affecting countless lives in Bangladesh, the intersection of climate change and its silent impact on the sexual and reproductive health and rights of women and girls, particularly those in the coastal regions. As we know, Bangladesh faces significant climate vulnerability, especially in coastal areas. Sadly, the consequences of climate change disproportionately burden women and girls due to pre-existing societal inequalities. Limited access to SRHR services due to cultural norms and geographical constraints further aggravates this issue. This webinar aims to shed light on this silent crisis by exploring the specific challenges that coastal women and girls face due to rising salinity levels and its impact on their SRHR. We hope to share valuable insights, raise awareness, and spark insightful discussions. Our goal is to collectively generate innovative ideas and pave the way for increased investment in addressing this crisis. We will hear from esteemed speakers throughout the session and engage in interactive discussions. We have with us our very own Bonusri Mitra Niyogi, Director Program from MGF, who will present her keynote discussion. Additionally, we have the privilege of hearing from our esteemed panelist, Ashrafi Binte Akram, Associate Professor from the Department of Sociology at Haji Mohammad Danish Science and Technology University, and Muhammad Samsuddoa, the Chief Executive of CPRD, who will share their expert perspectives on today's topic of discussion. We also have experience sharing sessions from our direct project participant joining us all the way from Bagirhat and Shatkhira. So without further delay, let's dive into the first segment, for which I will request Bonusri Mitra Niyogi, Director Program, Manusher Jonah Foundation, to deliver her keynote speech on today's topic, Unveiling the Silent Crisis, Climate Change Impacts on SRHR for Coastal Women and Girls. Didi, over to you.
Thank you, Lavanya, and good afternoon, everyone. And after 1 year, we are again here today. And today we select a very critical and complex issue. Are you hear me? We have some unstable connection here today. So I think, may I stop my video and then it will be better for me. Okay. Then I am going directly to my presentation. As Lavanya already mentioned that the title, the Unveiling the Silent Crisis, really it is a silent crisis. And we know that Bangladesh coastal area face recurrent environmental shocks, including floods, tropical cyclones. All these climate challenges triggered the ripple effect that exacerbates the urban poverty, unemployment, population congestion. But we never think about what about the fundamental sexual reproductive health rights issue. So how the coastal areas goes beyond the visible impact of climate change. It needs to be very urgent to address without wasting our time. The salinity and the cyclone situation, the future trends, how we can see the future trends here. Like in Bangladesh, the looming threat of climate change has cast a shadow over the reproductive health rights of coastal women and girls, revealing a silent crisis that demands urgent attention. So here, whenever we talked about the future trends, definitely we can say in Bangladesh, the interplay of salinity and cyclones presents a multi-faced challenge and significant implications for both environmental and human livelihoods, where this salinity intrusion exacerbated the rising sea levels, and also the climate change poses a persistent threat to agriculture productivity, particularly the coastal region where the rice cultivation primary source of substances. But when we talked about the infrastructure, the frequency intensify of cyclones are expected, the escalate necessity, proactive measures for disaster preparedness or shelter home management for sustainable adaptation strategies, even resilient infrastructure, how the coastal offshore lands. Hello, I feel disconnected. Hello, can you
We
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. But here lots of numbers are here. I am not mentioning the numbers, years, everything. Rather, I want to emphasize to mitigate these challenges, Bangladesh must focus on comprehensive strategies that integrate sustainable practice, robust water management system, resilience infrastructure, international collaboration, support. Everything is needed to address the salinity and cyclone to secure our sustainable, resilient future for our country. And the impacts of slow and sudden onset event on SRHR, what the situation actually we can show here that the impacts of both slow and sudden onset events have profound consequences on sexual and reproductive health rights, where the slow onset events such as climate change induced prolonged droughts propose the persistent well-being of the population, but the sudden onset even cyclone and floods can result in immediate and widespread displacement, leading to the compromised SRHR services. So it also increases the instances of gender-based violence and heighten the vulnerability of communicable diseases also. Here, the intersectionality of these events often intensify existing socioeconomic disparities, disproportionately impacting women and marginalized communities. And sometimes we have also seen that the limited access to contraceptive, mental health care, safe abortion service during emergency, the SRHR landscape is completely different here. Moreover, the destruction of infrastructure and displacement caused by the sudden onset events also disrupts the continuity of essential health services. So to address this challenge, how we can move forward. So there is an urgent need to comprehensive and resilient healthcare strategies to integrate SRHR consideration into disaster preparedness and response efforts. Sometimes we ignored or missed to address the SRHR issue very carefully. So accessing the SRHR services in climate vulnerable areas, Bangladesh poses several challenges due to the unique environmental and socioeconomic conditions. And my next slide is showing practice of coastal women and girls in relation to SRHR. The practice of regarding the SRH is shaped by a complex interplay, same again, the cultural, social, and environmental factors. And to stop menstruation, including taking pills and injections, in some cases, people may purchase non-prescribed ointment from the village level pharmacy or from a street vendor to treat itching. During menstruation, many women and girls tend to wear old clothes, which are washed with saline water and sometimes soap before being used again. So in disaster situation, women and girls may have resort to using wet clothes due to the lack of proper facilities for drying the shelters, dams, and roads. And traditional herbal treatments are also used to some shores. We also find that. So here is also cultural norms and conservative attitudes surrounding reproductive health can create creating barriers, hindering open discussions, awareness campaigns. Despite these challenges, there is a growing recognition of the need of these targeted interventions, where also NGO and government can also take initiatives. They are also taking increasingly initiatives towards the empowering coastal women through education awareness program, improve access to reproductive health care, everything is there. And then the existing service in remote and coastal areas. In remote coastal areas of Bangladesh, existing service play a pivotal role in addressing the unique challenges faced by the local communities. These services primarily focus on essential sectors such as healthcare, education, infrastructure development. But despite the geographical isolation and vulnerability of natural disasters, sometimes the efforts have been made to establish healthcare facilities that provide basic medical services, maternal care, and emergency responses too. While challenges persist, these existing services contribute significantly to enhancing the overall well-being and socioeconomic development of the remote coastal areas in Bangladesh. The challenges associates with accessing SRH services. Actually, for accessing these services, there is also a complex issue. Limited awareness education on this topic contribute to the pervasive lack of the knowledge, particularly among marginalized populations. Stigma and cultural taboos surrounding the discussions on the sexual health further impede access and discourage open conversation and inhibiting individuals from seeking necessary services, the unequal distribution of health facilities and resources. Furthermore, the geographical disparities and inadequate infrastructure in remote areas also difficult faced by individual and accessing essential services. So addressing these multifaceted challenges require a comprehensive and inclusive approach involving educational initiatives, community engagement, and improvements in healthcare infrastructure to ensure equitable access to SRH services for all in Bangladesh. We try to find some policy regime in this slide, where the National Adaptation Plan has addressed the impact of salinity on the reproductive and maternal health of women in relation to climate change and disaster risk reduction. And at the same time, it has not specifically mentioned that the sexual and reproductive health concerns of adolescent girls, which include the incorporated separately. And similarly, the National Plan of Disaster Management has addressed a gender inclusive response and sexual and reproductive health. But the target related to activities could include this health service for women and girls. That is missing point. And the standing order on disaster, which is circulated in 2019, has addressed gender responsive disaster management as well as sexual and reproductive health related issues. So what should be the way forward for our this critical and complex issue? Actually, commonly clinics should have sufficient human resource and such a service available to them. There should be message awareness where SRHR with the involvement of men, boys, women and girls. The availability of fresh water should be improved and re-excavating ponds and canals, enabling rainwater harvesting and desalination of saline water. These all should be the part in our way forward. At the same time, the capacity of local government, especially the Upazila and union level disaster management committee, the CPP, and for gender and disability responsive disaster management should be built. Women working in shrimp and crab farms and engage with shrimp crab collection should be supported for alternative livelihoods. So here we want to give emphasis both NGOs and government departments for SR should have their capacity built. women and girls should have effectively engaged local level decision making concerning adaptation and disaster management, and women CPP volunteers should also be activated. So activities implemented on this ground should be effectively monitored. That is also very important. The stakeholders' involvement in SRHR service should ensure accountability and transparency. And the final, this is my final slide, some appeal for the COP, upcoming COP. The main issue is there, the mechanism for operating the loss and damage fund should take into account historical responsibility and human rights. The climate finance must prioritize addressing the disproportionate impact of climate change of women and girls. And finally, climate finance should be prompt, adaptable, and considerate to gender perspective and review through the gender lens. So that's it from my side. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience to hearing me. Labunya, over to you.
Thank you, Didi. Thank you very much for that thought-provoking presentation. And I would like to say that if anybody has any questions or any concerns, please have patience. We have another open discussion session where we can elaborately discuss on that. So I'll move forward to the next segment. We will hear from Lamia Akhtar, a student living in the remote coastal region of Mitakhali Union, Mongla Upojela, Bagerhat. She is a direct participant in the Community-Based Resilience, Women's Empowerment and Action project, which we shortly called as CREA, implemented by MJF with financial support from the Embassy of Sweden. She will be sharing her own personal experiences with us today. আমি এখন অনুরোধ করব লামিয়া আক্তার আপাকে তার ব্যক্তিগত অভিজ্ঞতাগুলো আমাদের সাথে শেয়ার করার জন্য।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
দিদি শেয়ারিংটা স্টপ করেন।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, আমি লামিয়া আক্তার। আমার বয়স 17 বছর। আমি মিঠাখালী ইউনিয়নের দত্তেরমার গ্রামের একজন বাসিন্দা। জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনের ফলে লবণাক্ততা সীমাহীন আকারে বৃদ্ধি পাওয়ায় আমরা যেন একদিক দিয়ে দিশেহারা হয়ে পড়েছি। সামান্য নিরাপদ পানি যে মানুষের জীবনের জন্য কত জরুরি তা আমরা ভালোভাবে বুঝতে পারছি। আমার যখন পিরিয়ড শুরু হয় ষষ্ঠ শ্রেণীতে থাকাকালীন, তখন আমার আপুকে বললে বহুদিনের সংরক্ষিত প্যাড আমাকে ব্যবহার করতে দিয়েছিল। প্রথম 2 মাস তা ব্যবহার করলেও পরবর্তীতে অর্থসঙ্গতির জন্য তা আর হয়ে ওঠেনি। এখন আমরা কাপড়েই অভ্যস্ত হয়ে গেছি। তবে মাসিককালীন এই কাপড় পানি সংকটের জন্য মিঠা পানির অভাবে লবণ পানিতে ধৌত করার ফলে আমাদের ওই
ভিডিওটা ওপেন করতে বলেন। ভিডিওটা ওপেন করা যাচ্ছে না?
ভিডিও তো ওপেনই আছে। ভিডিওটা তো আমরা ওপেনই করছি। ওপেন দেখা যাচ্ছে?
জি জি।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম, আমি লামিয়া আক্তার। আমার বয়স 17 বছর। আমি মিঠাখালী ইউনিয়নের দত্তেরমেট গ্রামের একজন বাসিন্দা। জলবায়ু পরিবর্তনের ফলে লবণাক্ততা বৃদ্ধিতে আমরা যেন এক পর্যায়ে দিশেহারাও হয়ে পড়েছি। সামান্য নিরাপদ পানি যে জীবনের জন্য কত বড় জরুরি তা আমরা উপলব্ধি করতে পারছি। আমার যখন ষষ্ঠ শ্রেণীতে পিরিয়ড শুরু হয়, তখন আমার আপুকে বললে সে বহুদিনের সংরক্ষিত প্যাড আমাকে ব্যবহার করতে দিয়েছিলেন। কিন্তু 2 মাস তা ব্যবহার করার পরেই অর্থসঙ্গতির জন্য সেটা আর হয়ে ওঠেনি। এখন আমরা কাপড়েই অভ্যস্ত, কিন্তু মিঠা পানির সংকটের জন্য লবণ পানিতে সেই কাপড় বারবার ধৌত করে ব্যবহার করার ফলে আমাদের মাসিককালীন ও পরবর্তী চুলকানি হয়। এবং এই চুলকানির এই সমস্যাটা আমাদের নিত্যসঙ্গী। এখানকার মেয়েদের সাদা স্রাব একদম মানে সবারই আছে, যেমন আমি, আমার মা, আমার বোন সবাই এই সমস্যায় ভুগছে। তারপর আমরা এক কাপড় একদিনের বেশি ব্যবহার করছি পানির অভাবে, ধোয়ার অসুবিধায়, আবার লোকলজ্জার ভয়ে তা আড়ালে শুকাচ্ছি, যার ফলে ওই শুকানোর ফলে ওই কাপড়টায় স্যাঁতসেঁতে একটা ভাব চলে আসে, যেটা আমরা বাধ্য হয়ে সেটাই ব্যবহার করছি। তাই আমাদের এই লবণাক্ততা বৃদ্ধির ফলে অন্যদিকে আমার এক বান্ধবীর কাছে আমি শুনেছিলাম মিঠাখালী ইউনিয়নের চরিডাঙ্গা গ্রামে ওদিকে নাকি মেয়েরা, কিশোরী মেয়েরা এই শুকনা মৌসুমে পানির এত সংকট থাকে যে পরিষ্কার পরিচ্ছন্নতার কথা ভেবে তারা জন্ম নিয়ন্ত্রণ বড়ি সেবন করে নাকি পিরিয়ড বন্ধ রাখছে। তো আমাদের অঞ্চলে লবণাক্ততা বৃদ্ধির ফলে আমরা এইসব সমস্যার সম্মুখীন হচ্ছি, যেটার দিকে দৃষ্টিপাত করার মতো আমরা এখনো কাউকে দেখি নাই। তো আমাদের এই সকল কথা বিবেচনায় রেখে যদি মাসিককালীন যে প্যাড বা স্যানিটারি ব্যবস্থা সহজলভ্য করা বা প্যাড সুলভ মূল্যে সহজলভ্য করা বা বিনামূল্যে প্রদান করা, অথবা যদি পানি নিরাপদ পানি সরবরাহ করা যায় আমাদের জন্য, তাহলে আমরা এই সংক্রমণের ঝুঁকি থেকে হ্রাস পাবো। আমাদের এখানে 95% নারীরাই এই সমস্যায় ভুক্তভোগী। আর এছাড়া যৌন প্রজনন স্বাস্থ্য নিয়ে যদি সচেতনতা তৈরি করা যায়, তাহলে তারা যেন আমাদেরকে সাহায্য করতে পারে এই ব্যাপারে। এজন্য তাহলে আমরা আমাদের এইসব চুলকানি, তারপর মাসিককালীন বিভিন্ন সমস্যা, এসব জরায়ু সংক্রমণের ঝুঁকি থেকে রেহাই পাবো। মাসিক একটি স্বাভাবিক বিষয়, এটা নিয়ে কোনো লজ্জা নয়। ধন্যবাদ।
অনেক অনেক ধন্যবাদ লামি আপা আপনাকে আপনার অভিজ্ঞতাটা আমাদের সাথে শেয়ার করার জন্য। And I, on behalf of everyone, thank you again for sharing your powerful story, which actually make us realize that how grave the situation is. To shed some further lights on this situation, I would like to invite our first panelist now, Ashrafi Binte Akram, Associate Professor from the Department of Sociology at Haji Muhammad Danish Science and Technology University. I'm requesting her to share her expert perspective on the issues raised today. Thank you. Ashrafi Appa, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello, Appa.
Thank you so much. I'm not well. Yesterday, I came to Bangladesh after performing my Umrah. Hello.
Hello, Appa. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much to Bonusredi. And just before I go, as far as I remember, the young girl who shared her experience, how she converts with salinity to ensure her menstrual hygiene management, or like this. Actually, first of all, I'd like to say salinity. For this is a not this incidence, the natural I can define, but we should not define salinity due to climate change. I would like to say salinity increased in the coastal belt for the reason of human activities. And it should be better to say man-made salinity intrusion in coastal area, and definitely Bonusredi presented some excellent findings, which are recently very alarming for us. How the inhabitants, especially the reproductive girls and women, manage their menstrual health, reproductive health, or the pregnancy period, how they manage their health, and what are the next consequences after these incidents. I have an experience to conduct a research in the coastal belt, and I observed the same things but the issue which is not discussed recently, and most of the time, that is how women face social consequences after managing her menstrual health or reproductive health due to salinity. It is our concerning issue. It should be our concerning issue, because divorce or health
Ashrafi Appa, we can't hear you. Could you please check your audio? We still aren't able to hear you, Appa. Appa, are you still with us?
সরি আশরাফি আকরাম, আপনাকে একটু শোনা যাচ্ছে না। I think there is some technical.
Yeah, there's some technical issues.
Yeah. Can you move forward, please?
Okay, I think Ashrafi Appa is also, I think, signed out, maybe because of the technical issues. So maybe it's better to move forward. And when she will join, we will continue this discussion. So moving on. The next we had is another experience sharing from our project implementation area. I would like to welcome Jomna Rani Shordar, who lives in Burigoalini Union of Shamnagar Upazila, Satkhira. Jomna is also a participant in the Kriya project implemented by MJF, and she will be sharing her experience with us today. এখন আমি শ্যামনগর থেকে যমুনা রানী সর্দার আপাকে স্বাগত জানাচ্ছি তার অভিজ্ঞতাটা আমাদের সাথে তুলে ধরার জন্য। যমুনা আপা, আপনি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? জি আপা, আপনি বলতে পারেন।
শুভেচ্ছা, অভিনন্দন। আমি যমুনা রানী সর্দার, আমার স্বামীর নাম মনীন্দ্রনাথ সর্দার, গ্রাম বুড়িগলানি ৯ নম্বর ইউনিয়ন, সাতক্ষীরা জেলা, শ্যামনগর উপজেলা। তো আমার স্বামী একজন কৃষক, তিনি অন্যের জমিতে সারাক্ষণ কৃষি কাজ করেন। আমাদের নিজস্ব কোনো জমি জায়গা নেই, নদীর চরে আমরা বসবাস করি। তো এভাবে সংসারে আমার স্বামীর পাশাপাশি আমিও বছরে 10 মাস চিংড়ি ঘেরে কাজ করি। প্রতিদিন লবণ পানিতে আমাদের 6 ঘন্টা কাজ করতে হয়। এর ফলে আমাদের শরীরে বিভিন্ন ধরনের চর্মরোগ হয় এবং আমরা প্রচুর ঘামে দুর্বল হয়ে পড়ি। প্রচন্ড রোদ থেকে বাঁচার জন্য আমরা নিজের একটা মাথায় কাপড় বাঁধি, সে কারণে আমাদের মাথার চুল পড়ে যায়। বিভিন্ন ধরনের জীবাণু কাদার সাথে আমাদের নখের মধ্যে প্রবেশ করে আমাদের হাত পায়ের নখে পছন্দ হয়। তো আমাদের নারীদের মাসিক হলে এই অবস্থায় পানিতে নেমে গোসল করা উচিত নয়, কিন্তু আমরা এটাকে মেনে চলতে পারি না। অভাবের তাড়নায় পড়ে আমরা এই অবস্থাতে চিংড়ি ঘেরে লবণ পানিতে কাজ করতে যাওয়ার ফলে আমাদের জরায়ুর মধ্যে লবণ পানি প্রবেশ করে। এ কারণে আমাদের জরায়ুর মধ্যে ক্ষত বা ইনফেকশন হয়, অসময়ে গর্ভপাত হয়, অনিয়মিত মাসিক হয় এবং আমাদের জরায়ু থেকে সারাক্ষণ এক ধরনের সাদা ধাতু বেরিয়ে আসে। এর ফলে আমরা সবসময় অস্বস্তি বোধ করি। দীর্ঘদিন যাবৎ এই অসুস্থতার কারণে অনেক অল্প বয়সে অনেক নারী এই জরায়ুতে ক্যান্সার হয়ে মারা যাচ্ছে। আমার স্বামীর পূর্বের স্ত্রী এই জরায়ুতে ক্যান্সার হয়ে মারা গেছে, সে সারাক্ষণ লবণ পানিতে কাজ করতো। তো আমাদের এই লবণ পানি ব্যবহার করা, লবণ পানিতে কাজ করা, সংসারে অন্যান্য কাজে ব্যবহার করার কারণে আমার মতো অনেক নারীও শারীরিকভাবে অসুস্থ এবং দুর্বল হয়ে আছে। তারা স্বামীর মন জাগাতে না পারার কারণে সংসারে পারিবারিক সহিংসতার শিকার হচ্ছে, সংসারে অশান্তি হচ্ছে, স্বামী স্ত্রী দ্বন্দ্ব হচ্ছে, ফলে পুরুষেরা দ্বিতীয় বিয়ে করার সিদ্ধান্ত নিচ্ছে, অবশেষে হয়তো কোনো নারী আত্মহত্যার পথ বেছে নিচ্ছে, নইলে স্বামী স্ত্রী বিচ্ছেদ। আমাদের এখানে আমরা উপকূলীয় মানুষ, এখানে আমাদের প্রাকৃতিক দুর্যোগের কারণে নদী ভাঙনটাই সবচেয়ে বেশি হয়। এর ফলে আমাদের মধ্যে যখন নদী ভেঙে লবণ পানি আমাদের অঞ্চলের মধ্যে প্রবেশ করে আমাদের ঘর বাড়িকে নষ্ট করে দেয়, তখন আমরা নিজেরা বাঁচার জন্য সাইক্লোন সেন্টারে গিয়ে আশ্রয় নেই। ওখানে গর্ভবতী মা, কিশোরী মেয়েরা, প্রতিবন্ধী, বৃদ্ধ, নারী, পুরুষ সবাই আমরা একত্রে বাস করি। আমাদের নারীদের জন্য কোনো আলাদা রুম বা টয়লেটের ব্যবস্থা থাকে না, অথবা সুপ্রিয় খাবার পানি, মাসিকের জন্য নিরাপদ কাপড় ও প্যাডের। তাই এসব কিছু জানাতে সরকারের নিকটে আমাদের আবেদন, সুপ্রিয় খাবার পানির ব্যবস্থা চাই, নারীদের জন্য ফ্রি চিকিৎসার ব্যবস্থা চাই, মাসিক হলে নিরাপদ কাপড় ও প্যাডের ব্যবস্থা, এবং আমাদের নারীদের লবণ পানি ছাড়াই বিকল্প কর্মসংস্থান। ধন্যবাদ।
ধন্যবাদ আপা, আপনার অভিজ্ঞতা এবং সমস্যাগুলোর কথা আমাদের কাছে এত খোলামেলা ভাবে তুলে ধরার জন্য আপনাকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আপা। আশরাফি আপা, are you there? Ashrafi Appa, can you hear me? Okay, I think Appa could not be available right now. Okay, I think she messaged. Appa, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. I think there's some technical glitches in the audio system. Yeah. So I guess it's better, Appa. I think if we move forward to the next segment, when we will be able to sort the technical glitches, we will have you back. So I will move forward to our next panelist, which is Mr. Shamsud Doha, who serves as the Chief Executive for the Center of Policy Research and Development, CPRD. So we are eager to hear his perspective on the issues raised today. Shamsud Doha bhai, if you are here and can listen to me, please, we are eager to hear from you.
Yes, thank you very much. I think you could hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very, significant discussion on climate change implications on women issues, particularly that are related to personal hygiene, sanitation, and other. It's a good presentation from Didi, and we got a comprehensive understanding on the local context. We also heard from the people, community people who are experiencing the problem. They are going through the, very difficult scenario and situation. We also understood a kind of policy narrative from the presentation that where we could hook to address this problem. In relation to the problem that has been discussed, I have several opinions in this context. First context is that if I consider the differentiated role of women and men in relation to water, because the whole discussion in relation to accessibility to water, personal hygiene and sanitation, this is centering around water. And the requirement of water for men and women is differentiated, it's different. If I consider the personal hygiene, if I consider the sanitation, the requirement of safe water for women is much more, required than a man, because for biological reason, for biological purpose, and for biological safety, women need safe water compared to the men. I don't ignore the requirement safe water for the men, but if I compare between men and women require safe water than that of men. But in relation to accessibility to that safe water, as I heard from the community people, one youth and one women from the coastal areas, we found that accessibility to the safe water for the coastal women and adolescent girls is a hard task for very different reasons. This is one cause due to salinity intrusion, increase of salinity, though there is a debate whether intrusion of salinity is related to a development failure or development problem, or this is absolutely for climate change. But there are some impact already established by science that sea level is rising. So as sea level is rising and we are experiencing less water from the upstream, this is also another development problem. Some portion of coastal areas are becoming saline. So this is recurrent problem. But if I consider the future impacts of climate change, considering 1.5 degrees centigrade temperature rise, even 2 degrees centigrade temperature rise, then we might experience more sea level rise than that are experiencing now. And in case of increased level of sea level rise, the problem will be more compound and I mean prolific. But again, in relation to accessing to water and in relation to defining livelihood opportunities and roles, women are very much exposed to the saline water than men. This is due to carrying saline water. This is due to household activities. This is due to working in a saline condition. This is very societal problem and also social understanding that women will do, soft work, easy work. In the coastal areas, the easy work is working in a shrimp nursery or crab nursery or collecting crabs. And we consider that collecting crabs or collecting shrimp fry from the coastal water is a very easy task because it just need pushing off nets. But for collecting shrimp fry, women need to stay 7-8 hours in a chest deep saline water, and long stay, long immersion or submersion in saline water are causing many problems that includes biological disorder, infection of uterus, some eczemas, skin diseases, and we also heard about uterus failure, uterus loss, and these also are leading to family crisis, divorce, and a torture in family level. And they all are non-economic loss and damages. But the problem is that while we develop our national plans, we do not consider the extended or non-economic loss and damages caused by the impacts of climate change. We consider climate change impact just sudden onset event. We are very much love to say the figures, love to say how much, in economic term, what amount we are losing due to maybe one cyclone. But after a cyclone, when the saline water gets in the freshwater areas, then the residual impact of saline water, we often forget those and we often don't consider about this. So the total narrative of climate change impact and total narrative of adaptation actions and planning are centering around developing some infrastructure. And we consider climate change as a risk. So how to prevent the risk? So preventing risk is developing infrastructure like cyclone shelter, like embankment. And we ignore the human dimension of climate change. And human dimension of climate change is essentially linked to non-economic loss and damages, and this is essentially linked to violation of human rights. So there is a strong human rights implication of climate change impact. But with the policymakers and the people who develop the plan, essentially it's a top-down development plan, we often forget or ignore those. There are some problem in relation to developing national adaptation plans, because the national adaptation plans are developed by some expert, and most of the often the experts are male. They have not very strong connection with the grassroots people and grassroots understanding. So they consider climate change from a kind of perceived vulnerabilities. So the perceived vulnerability is climate change is cyclone, climate change is flooding, climate change is riverbank erosion. But we forget that climate change is also health crisis. Climate change is also ministerial problem. Climate change is also, increase of hypertension, preeclampsia disease due to consumption of saline water by women in the coastal areas. So if we want to address these challenges, I think a kind of locally led planning, we also are talking about locally led planning a lot. A kind of locally led planning is very important. How we could include or ensure participation of local women in the planning process. This is not only just participation in the planning process, but also how to set the agenda of discussion, how to make a priority of projects. So participation of local people and also respecting their decision is also important. The other concern, this is not just only our planning problem, but also I consider the priority of the development partners. Currently, I find fewer number of organizations in the local level that are working on human rights issues that are connected to climate change and human rights, and also wash issues, water, sanitation, and hygiene, because they fail to mobilize finances for implementing those processes. They often are bound to implement the projects that are defined by the donors. And when we talk about that, this is a donor priority in terms of developing project, we should question that donor priority or priorities of the development partners should be based on the local need. So whether the development partners go down to the local level to discuss with the community people to capture the ideas and frame the development project, I see these are not happening. So this is not just the development failure, failure of the national plans, but also failure of the civil societies to make a stronger argument to development partners to go to the town, to listen from the communities who are suffering by the impacts of climate change and define their development priorities accordingly. This is just not subcontracting to the local partners as per choice of the development partner. This should not be. And if this continue, and then we will not be able to say that the coastal communities, climate change affected areas will be a climate resilient. So this is another policy dimension of climate change. In relation to international sphere, yes, there are some international decisions in relation to loss and damages, because at COP28 there is a decision on loss and damage fund, but that fund unfortunately didn't capture the non-economic loss and damages, or the loss and damages that are resulting from slow onset event, for instance, salinity intrusion, for instance, sea level rise. So there is a strong influence of the northern development partners, northern countries, and also some companies based in Europe and also USA, insurance companies, to consider loss and damage a kind of risk transfer mechanism, and they consider entire climate change discourse, climate change financing, a kind of opportunity for them for investing money. But if we want to, argue for human rights-based adaptation activities, for gender rights-based adaptation activities, for climate resilient work system, there is no business opportunity for the development partners, and also no business opportunity from the private sector. That's why development partners, northern countries and the corporations very purposefully ignore the local needs and priorities. So in the global negotiation, we also should continue pursuing the non-economic dimension of loss and damages, so that the L&D funding includes those. The other concern, which is related to global goal on adaptation, and in relation to global stocktake, that includes several indicators for measuring adaptation. I think we also could make a submission that the global goal on adaptation should include human rights-based dimension, and also gender issues, women issues, wash issues, sexual rights, and other rights as a strong indicator of resilience building. So unless including those as an indicator of community resilience, we cannot say that a community who is exposed to the salinity intrusion or related health hazards are resilient to the impacts of climate change. And unless introducing those indicators to the adaptation framework, we cannot argue for financing. So this is another area where we could work. In relation to human rights obligation and dimension, there are many debates and discussion under the UNFCCC. But again, there are some obstacles by the developed countries, not including human rights under the UNFCCC negotiation. But there are other international obligations under the United Nations. And though they are very soft obligations, but if we could include those, human rights obligation, gender rights, sexual rights, women rights, under those obligations, then we could ask our national government to make national plans and program aligned to those global obligations. So there is another platform where we could flag in our issues. So when we talk about climate change impact on that very particular issues, we need to capture evidences. Yes, there are many evidences on the ground, and we heard from our sisters from the coastal areas on the climate change impact on their health. But that evidences should be established by science. I found less research on climate change and human climate change and health issues, climate change and wash issues. And I argue the academician in Bangladesh and also health professionals to deeply look into this, provide scientific information to the global stakeholders, global policymakers, policy stakeholders, so that they are sensitized and they take this issue to the global negotiation. So at the end, in a summary, I would like to say that it's becoming a major issue, it's becoming a real problem to the coastal communities, but the policy framework, our evidences, our academic community, health professionals are not that much sensitized to look into this in a scientific way and develop evidences and communicate those to the international level. In international level, we have many policy spaces. We should really work on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shamsuddin Bhai, for your valuable insight. It was truly very informative, and I believe that our knowledge level have already enriched. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have Ashrafi Appa now? We'd love to hear from you. Ashrafi Appa, can you hear us? Appa, we can see you, but we still can't hear you. Appa, we still can't actually hear you. So if you allow us, we will love to go to the next segment. And we still can't hear you.
Can you just unplug your headphone if you are using your laptop? Might be there is some setup issues when you are input your any external devices. So can you just unplug your headphone and try from your okay then might be it's critical issues from your end, or you can might be rejoin from your phone as well, so that might be helpful. Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah, I think we can move forward because time is also running out. So our next segment was actually open discussions part, where we would like to ask and our participant and also the panelist to share their suggestions or offer any kind of insights that we may have on the topic. So I would request Bonusri Mittu Niyogi again, Director Program at MJF, to take the floor again to facilitate this session. And I would also request all the participants to raise your hand before you share your questions or suggestion. And you can also write down your concerns in the chat box or in the question answer box. Thank you. Didi, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Lavanya. Thank you for your good moderation also, and give me the tough one. So let's see. Our dear all climate actors, attendees and participants, panelists, you all are most welcome to share your valuable experience also, even statements, questions, anything you can share with us. And at the same time, I would also like to raise few issues are in the chat box. By this time, you can raise your hand and we'll count, and one by one, we'll request to share your opinion. Here, one experience sharing I must share with you. You may have also noticed that. This is from Kampala, Uganda. Susan Nandudu. She shared that we are also working in partnership with Plan International here on the intersection between climate change and SRHR. We have found relatively similar impacts of CCM on SRHR, but with the main hazards of the drought that increase water stress, yet most girls and women use clothes during the menstruation. So there is the perspective is different, but the problem is the same. So it is the climate change impact is not only the separate country issues, it is the global issues. So Doha Bhai very correctly mentioned our country priorities, and at the same time, the international and global commitment priorities should have to rethink and reshape in different way. They have to priority not only the finance, climate finance, and at the same time, some social aspects, impacts that should be addressed very carefully and make our plan to move forward. Thank you, Doha Bhai. And still we are hoping that Ashrafi Appa can share her experience. She has very recent study also. She is passionate on this issue. She has lots of research. She has lots of work on SRHR issue, particularly in the coastal belt also. So now I'm welcoming you all. It is open floor now. Please raise your hand and share your experience. Do you hear me?
There is a question for Jamuna Rani Appa in the question answer box.
Okay, let me see. Yes, Sabaha Haq. There is a question for Jamuna Rani Appa. First I read in English, then I will try to translate in Bangla, or someone is translating it for Jamuna Appa. Do they feel that working in saline conditions is impacting their fertility? Are young women just married or unmarried allowed to work in saline conditions? What kind of marital problem are they facing due to exposure to salinity? Jamuna Appa, যেটা ওনারা জানতে চাচ্ছেন যে এই স্যালানিটির কারণে আমি জানি না এটা ওনার জায়গা থেকে কতটুকু আসবে যে এই যৌন স্বাস্থ্যগত এবং আমি যদি এইভাবে বলি যে বাচ্চা ধারণ ক্ষমতা, প্রজনন স্বাস্থ্যের পুরোটা কতটুকু কিভাবে ইম্প্যাক্ট করছে আপনার এটা মনে করেন কিনা? যারা ইয়াং আছে, জাস্ট বিয়ে করেছে অথবা এখনো আনম্যারিড আছে, অ্যালাউড টু ওয়ার্ক ইন দ্য স্যালাইন কন্ডিশনস, মানে এই স্যালাইন পরিস্থিতি মানে পানির এই পরিস্থিতিতে ওনারা কিভাবে কাজগুলি করেন, এবং অ্যাট এ টাইম যে আমাদের দাম্পত্য সম্পর্কে কি ধরনের সমস্যা মুখোমুখি আমরা হই। এই ধরনের তিনটা পরপর প্রশ্ন রেখেছে। আপনি কি শুনতে পেয়েছেন?
দিদি যমুনা দিদি তো একটু জরুরি কাজে চলে গেছেন। হ্যাঁ, ওনাকে আমি প্রশ্নগুলো করেছিলাম, উনি তখন তো আমি প্রশ্ন পেয়েছিলাম, উনি বলেছেন যে আমাদের কাজ করতে বাধ্য হতে হয়। হ্যাঁ, ডাক্তারি মতে বা যদি আমরা চেষ্টা করি তো আমরা তো কাজ না করে থাকতে পারি না, আমাদের কাজ করতে হয়। এবং এই অঞ্চলে নারীদের যে বিবাহিত হোক বা অবিবাহিত হোক, দরিদ্রতার কারণে উপকূল অঞ্চলে নারীরা অল্প বয়সী হোক, তাদেরকে লবণ পানিতে কাজ করতে হয় আর কি। আর্থিক কষ্টটা মেটানোর জন্য তাদের কাজ করতে হয়। এই প্রশ্নের উত্তর তিনি আমাকে দিয়ে গেছেন। আমি বলছিলাম দিদি একটা প্রশ্ন কিন্তু এসেছে, উনি বলেছেন আর কি আমাকে। হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা, অনেক ধন্যবাদ মোহনদা।
Actually, we have heard about the miscarriage issues in relation to salinity. From whenever we are working in the coastal areas, some of our beneficiaries shared this issue that they have seen the miscarriage. That they have seen that the miscarriage related issues are increasing day by day. So they are relating with the salinity also.
Okay, thank you, Hassan, for with extra information here with us. There is a hand raised from Mr. Muhammad Harun Rashid. Could you please share your question or statement or experience, Mr. Harun Rashid? Mr. Harun Rashid, do you hear me?
Mr. Harun Rashid asked that if there
It's okay now.
Yes, can you hear me? Thank you very much, Bamsidi, for giving me a chance to discuss a few issues. The other question, actually, I'm on the bus for traveling. I'm not sure if it's creating hazard for you or not. Anyway, let me try. Zohabhai said correctly. There's a lot more information regarding the sexual and reproductive health issues, regarding miscarriage issues, even cervical cancer. A lot of women suffering from cervical cancer issues. But we are also hearing from the government as well regarding this. Even in the COP28, it was discussed a lot. But I didn't find hardly any research or studies in Bangladesh, whether in the coastal belt conducted a study, particularly in comparative study. Maybe Russia division did not have a cervical cancer enough compared to the Khulna division. So this sort of information might help us to fine-tune the new intervention for particularly SRH aspect. Second issue is regarding it is not only the SRH issue, it's water is life, the crisis of sweet water rather than saline water is also a hard or dire need for every women and men as well. So what I don't know that MJF any providing any alternative source of water, but particularly for drinking water or for emergency use of like women, or particularly during menstrual period or something like emergency period. So is there any options? Even I don't know this, the government also providing anything or not, but it's a dire need of drinking water and sweet water needed for the women health and human bodies. So this much from regarding question from my side. I love to hear also from our colleagues, Doha Bhai and others as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harun Bhai. We'll come back definitely. Doha Bhai is also here, and also those who are suffering especially the coastal belt, Bagherhat, Satkhira, and Mongla area. They can also share how they can manage their everyday problem. So can we hear from two others, then we can come back with their answer. Anyone? No, I'm not seeing any other hands now. So I think Ashrafiepa, are you there?
Someone from leaders is trying to say something.
Yes, we will come back. So I actually tried to take two more questions, then come. It's no problem as there is no hand, so we can go for the answer. Leaders, please mention your name. Hello. I didn't see any hand, Hassan.
He has given his question in chat box.
Okay, Bonusri Di,
Yes, please.
আমি লিডার্স থেকে বলছি, প্রজেক্ট কোঅর্ডিনেটর আরিফ। কিন্তু
জি,
আমাদের
বলেন
মোহন
please.
দাদার গলায় সমস্যা, উনি কথা বললে আপনারা শুনতে পাবেন না, তাই লিখে দিয়েছেন আর কি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা,
ঠিক
আমি
আছে।
জি, লেখাটা আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি। কিন্তু যেটা হারুন ভাই যেটা প্রশ্ন করেছে সেটা যদি আপনারা একটু বলেন আপনাদের এক্সপিরিয়েন্স থেকে, সবাই একদম প্র্যাকটিক্যাল দিকটা জানতে পারবে। উনি যেটা বলেছেন যে এই ধরনের কেসে খাবারের পানি এবং এই মিনিস্ট্রিয়াল ম্যানেজমেন্টের জন্য কোনো পানির ব্যবস্থা করা হয় কিনা বা কিভাবে তারা ম্যানেজ করে, এটা একটু শুনতে চেয়েছে। আপনারা কি ফিল্ড এক্সপিরিয়েন্সটা একটু বলবেন কাইন্ডলি?
হ্যাঁ দিদি, আমি বলি, যেহেতু দাদা কথা বলতে পারছেন না। পানির যে ব্যবস্থাটা আসলে পুকুরের পানি, বিশেষ করে বুড়িগোয়ালিনী এবং গাবুরা যে ইউনিয়ন দুটো আছে পাশাপাশি, পুকুরের পানি পান করে। আর লিডার্স বা অন্যান্য সংস্থা কিছু কাজ করে, লিডার্স অনেক কাজ করেছে পানির জন্য। যেমন পুকুরের পানি তারা বায়োস্যান্স ফিল্টারের মাধ্যমে পিওর করে খাওয়ার চেষ্টা করে, তবে অধিকাংশ সময় তারা খাবার পানি হিসেবে পুকুরের পানি গ্রহণ করে। হ্যাঁ, আর বৃষ্টির পানি ধরে রাখে কিছু কিছু সময়। বৃষ্টির পানি তো সারা বছর হয় না, 2-3 মাস হয়। তারপরে তাদের ওই পুকুরের পানি পান করতে হয়। এটা গেল খাবারের দিকটা। যদি স্যালিনিটির কথা বলি, তারা তো যমুনা দিদিও বলেছিলেন যে স্যালিনিটির কারণে তাদের ওই মাসিকের সময় বিশেষ করে পানি প্রবেশ করলে তাদের অনেক সমস্যা হয়, নখের সমস্যা হচ্ছে। হ্যাঁ, এই ধরনের কথাও তিনি বলেছেন। এটা যদি আমি কি পরিষ্কার করতে পেরেছি বিষয়টা?
Yes, no problem. It's fine actually. Doha bhai, would you like to add something over here?
Not in particular, thank you. And I missed some question, in fact, because I was missed out from the connection.
Okay, actually, the question was basically what is the alternative management for the water use for the daily use, especially for the drinking water and also for the health hygiene perspective during the ministerial period at the coastal area. So this is the main questions.
In relation to coastal areas, salinity is a major problem, and saline water is also it's causing a real problem in terms of ministerial health and hygiene. There are many concerns that the existing water bodies, surface water bodies, should be preserved, but there are some governance problems in relation to keep this water as it is, because most of the public commons water bodies are occupied by the influential for shrimp farming or also maybe for other purposes, other fish culture. So a kind of decentralized management system, climate adaptive governance system is essentially required, not only for the coastal region, but also the climate hotspot, for instance, drought prone areas. So harvesting surface water, not only rainwater for drinking, but also surface water in a large reservoir for personal use and household use. So this could be a potential solution. I don't know about the technological advancement in relation to, relation to logistics that are being used in relation to personal hygiene. There might have some progress. We also should look into the technological solutions, if there is any globally, so we can also make those technologies available to those coastal communities. The other concern is that our health sector should be decentralized, considering the localized requirement. For instance, if I consider the health sector in Bangladesh, they are, there is no differentiated support service for the coastal areas, for the drought prone areas. All are, same level service they're providing from the health sector. So for the coastal areas, that should have specially trained health workers, doctors, so that they can understand the local crisis and they can provide support accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, there is another question to you directly from Mr. Harun Rashid, that you said about the cervical cancer. Is there any study to claim this about your from your reference? And another one, is there any reference of studies on cervical cancer issues? Doha bhai.
No, thing is that the evidences we are collecting from the communities, and there are many media reports in relation to that crisis, but there is no scientifically published article, journal article that can be referred by scientific communities, academicians, and also the policymakers, unless having a, scientifically established data and figure. We cannot claim loudly for that crisis and for solutions. So the evidence is what we're getting from the local communities. There are many stories, there are many media reports, but again, they need to be validated with through proper investigation, whether climate change is strongly linked to the crisis or not, whether there is other crises also, whether this is due to negligence, or this is due to, not accessing, not considering that very, not considering this as an important issue. So that should be validated with proper information and understanding. So this, there is a strong, there is a strong gap of establishing this fact with scientific data and understanding.
Yeah, very clear. Thank you so much. Ashrafiyappa, would you like to add anything, as you have some research data on this issue, not the cancer issue, the salinity and ministerial health issue? Would you like to add anything? Are you there? Oh, again, she again disconnected, sorry. Any other opinion, questions do you have? Or any other in the chat box? Hassan, do you find anything new?
No, there is nothing new in the chat box. There is a request for sharing our presentation from Mr.
Right.
Shankar.
Right. So please share the PowerPoint presentation to all the participants. Ashrafiyappa, now we can hear. Yes.
Okay.
Welcome.
Welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I would like to add something in this regard. Recently, my experience is just before ago, both Samsuddoha, if I am not wrong. What is the name of another panelist?
Samsuddoha, you are right. No problem.
Yeah. He already said about the scientific evidence in this context. What is the main reason of climate change or salinity? In this context, I would to like to something. If one woman in coastal belt feel the hazard in managing her menstrual health or reproductive health, and when she will say about this issue, I think this is the best evidence from the from which we'll collect from the field level. And recently, I have an experience. Someone asked me, "Do you think that one person, one woman, or another woman affected the salinity? How can you generalize this issue based on one or two or few women's experience? Based on a few experience, how can you draw a conclusion that salinity affect their menstrual reproductive health?" But the thing is, do you have any study regarding this issue massively or comprehensively? Still now we can conduct a study comprehensively how salinity impacted the reproductive health, or due to stigma or another causes, women are preferred to talk about this issue willingly? If the answer is not, so how we can conclusion, how we can say in this context that salinity is not a major issue? এখানে আমি আরেকটা বিষয় আপনাদেরকে একটু বলতে চাচ্ছি। আমি একটু বাংলায় বলছি যেহেতু এখানে আরো কিছু পার্টিসিপেন্ট আছেন। পার্সেন্টেজ করে যদি আমি ব্যাখ্যা করতে না পারি যে আমার এত পার্সেন্ট উইমেন রিপ্রোডাক্টিভ হেলথ কিংবা মিনিস্ট্রুয়াল হেলথে ক্ষতিগ্রস্ত হচ্ছে, তাহলে আমার এই স্টাডিটা কি সায়েন্টিফিক হবে কিনা, বা আদৌ এই স্টাডিটাকে নিয়ে আমরা খুবই উদ্বিগ্নতার কোনো কিছু আছে কিনা। আমার এখানে প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, বা আমার এখানে অ্যাড করবার বিষয় হচ্ছে, কোস্টাল বেল্টে যে নারীটা স্যালাইনিটির কারণে স্বামী দ্বারা, শাশুড়ি দ্বারা নির্যাতিত হচ্ছে, তার বিষয়টাকে আমি কিভাবে কোয়ান্টিফাই করব? আমি যদি কোয়ান্টিফাই করতে না পারি, তাহলে কি তার বিষয়টাকে এখানে রিসার্চের ইস্যু হবে কিনা? এটা আমার রিসেন্ট কিছু অভিজ্ঞতার আলোকে আমিও এই ধরনের কিছু প্রশ্নের সম্মুখীন হয়েছি, যে কোয়ান্টিফাই করবার বিষয় একটা আছে। আমার কথা কি শোনা যাচ্ছে?
জি জি, শোনা যাচ্ছে, প্লিজ কন্টিনিউ।
তো এই জায়গাটা আমি 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 খুবই কনসার্নিং এই জায়গাটাতে, যে আমরা কোয়ান্টিফাই যদি করতে না পারি, এই ইস্যুগুলোকে আনবো কিভাবে? এক্ষেত্রে আমার বেস্ট এভিডেন্স, সায়েন্টিফিক এভিডেন্স হচ্ছে, যখন যিনি সাফার করছেন, যিনি রেসপন্ডেন্ট, উনি যখন আমাকে যে কথাটা বলছেন, সেটা যদি প্রপার ওয়েতে রেকর্ড করা হয়, ডেটাটাকে ম্যানেজমেন্ট করা হয়, দ্যাট উড বি সায়েন্টিফিক। এই জায়গায় আমার একটা অ্যাড করবার বিষয়। আর আমি খুব খুশি হতাম এখানে যদি যারা কিছু এক্সপিরিয়েন্স শেয়ার করেছেন, একজন মেল পার্টিসিপেন্ট থাকতেন, শাশুড়িরা থাকতেন, তারা আসলে এই বিষয়গুলো জানার পরও, যারা ডোমেস্টিক ভায়োলেশনের শিকার হচ্ছেন, তারা আসলে কিভাবে এই বিষয়টাকে পারসিভ করছে। এখানে আরো কিছু স্টেক হোল্ডার আছেন, মেল পার্টিসিপেন্টরা কিভাবে তাদের ওয়াইফের এই বিষয়গুলো জানার পরও তারা কিভাবে রিয়াক্ট করছেন, তারা কেন তার ওয়াইফের গায়ে হাত তুলছেন। শাশুড়ি, যিনি নিজেও এক সময় এটার সাফারার ছিলেন, উনি আসলে এই বিষয়টাকে পরবর্তীতে তার ছেলের বউয়ের ক্ষেত্রে কিভাবে করছেন। মিনিস্ট্রুয়াল হাইজিন ম্যানেজমেন্টে ওখানকার লোকাল যে কমিউনিটি রয়েছে, কমিউনিটি বলতে এখানে আমি বোঝাতে চাচ্ছি যারা ন্যাপকিন রিলেটেড প্রোডাক্টটার সাথে জড়িত, কোম্পানি হতে পারেন কিংবা অন্যান্য স্টেক হোল্ডার হতে পারেন, তাদের কি ভূমিকাটা রয়েছে। এখানে আর একটা বিষয় আমি জানি, মোস্ট অফ দ্য পার্টিসিপেন্ট অলরেডি সেড যে ওখানকার যে অ্যাডভোকেসি যে রোলটা, সেটা দ্যাট ইজ নট স্যাটিসফ্যাক্টরি। হোয়াই দ্য রোল ইজ নট স্যাটিসফ্যাক্টরি। এই বিষয়গুলো আসলে আমাদের পরবর্তী রিসার্চে ইনক্লুড করবার বিষয়। আর আমরা যিনি নির্যাতনের শিকার হচ্ছেন, যিনি ভোগান্তির শিকার হচ্ছেন, তার পাশাপাশি তার ভোগান্তির সাথে আরো যে বিষয়গুলো, আরো যারা স্টেক হোল্ডার রয়েছে, তাদেরকেও যদি আমরা ইনক্লুড করতে পারি, তাহলে এই রিসার্চটা অনেক বেশি কম্প্রিহেন্সিভ হবে। এইটুকুই বলার ছিল। ধন্যবাদ।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ আপা। Any other comments, questions from your side, dear audience? There is another issues raised by the Nafis ICAD. Okay, before going to the chat box, there is a hand from Isatu sir. Raise your hand, please. Please share your experience. Isatu sir, is it okay? May I pronounce correctly? Please share your statement, questions, whatever you want to share. Isatu. Okay, take your time. I am going to the chat box again. There is a comments and questions, I think. The dry season unavailability is a significant problem on the coastal belt of Bangladesh. How can we act with our neighboring country like India in the Ganges Treaty, which is going to end in 2026, for increasing dry season water flow, which will ultimately aid in less saline intrusion in the coastal belt? This will also reduce the wash-related problems. Very sorry, I am personally not the expert on this issue. So if anyone on this issue have the knowledge and information, please share. Anyone can help us? Hassan? Do you have any information?
No, there is no other issue. I think before closing, we please request everyone to turn on their camera so that we can have a photo.
So would you like to wrap up this?
No, you will wrap up this.
No, no. There is one hand actually.
But she is
But-
not responding.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Nafis is made it to the Doha sir. My question is to Doha sir. Dear Doha sir. Doha bhai, are you there? Doha bhai, I think he left.
Yeah, he's connecting from remotely, so remote area. So he might be left.
Oh, sorry. Or any other one? There is no option on video.
Maybe we are running out of time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So now it is time to wrap up our today's session. Thank you very much, dear all panelists.